I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. And I sure do love my job. Yeah. I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. I'm born to preach the gospel. I sure do love my job. Yeah. Yes, I really love my job. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. Oh, I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. Yes, I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. Get firmly rooted. So let's get firmly rooted. Let's get firmly rooted. So let's get firmly rooted. Oh, I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. Let's get firmly rooted. Firmly rooted. Let's get firmly rooted. Yeshua, 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 Yeshua. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. We're disciples that make disciples that make disciples. We are disciples that make disciples that make disciples. We are disciples that make disciples that make disciples. Let's keep firmly rooted. Firmly rooted.
Firmly Rooted family, good morning and happy Tuesday morning, the day after Independence Day weekend. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope that you had an opportunity to watch Sunday's Bible study and message. If not, I want to encourage you to go back to it. Had some references there to what freedom truly is and what it isn't, and how we ought to maybe see independence as not something singular like my independence, but globally like a nation who's independent from the forces of another nation, or a church that's independent from the forces of the kingdom of this world. But I'm not going to preach that sermon over again, so I'd encourage you to take a look at Sunday's Bible study and Sunday's worship service. Glenn, good morning. Jackie Matus, good morning. Steve Panaworski, he and I think we weren't alone at the end. We had a few other guys on our men's devotion. That was great. Dave Donnelly, good morning. Vivian Davis, good morning. Bert Reggiani, good morning, everyone. All right, so everyone, we're in Mark chapter 7. It's the feeding of the 4,000, right? There's 5,000, 4,000. Pretty much the same miracle takes place in each one. And I guess looking at Mark chapter 8, it reminds me how important it is to view the Gospels when you can together, chronologically, because there's nuances that Mark might add that Matthew doesn't, or Luke doesn't, or whatnot, and those little verses help us. So in the feeding of the 4,000, I want you to hear Jesus' words, because Mark records some words that the other gospel does not. I have compassion for these people. That's exactly what the other gospels say, that Jesus has been teaching and the people have been riveted, sitting, listening to his word, preaching all day, maybe even for several days, because it says, for these people, they've already been with me 3 days. So maybe over a whole entire weekend or in the middle of the week, we don't know for sure. But they have been following Jesus and listening to him teach for 3 days. I mean, don't you sometimes wonder what it would have been like to follow Jesus during that time? I mean, no one has recorded everything that he has said and everything that he did. But he has compassion on them because they've been with him for 3 days and they're running out of food. There's nothing to eat. And then Mark adds these words from Jesus. If I send them home hungry, some of them may collapse along the way because some of them have come from a long distance. Feeling this obligation for others. And I guess the first thing that I want to say is this an isolated miracle, or is this a expression of God's providence? Is it just this 1 or 2 times that Jesus recognized the people had a need, a global need to eat, and so he multiplied fish and bread and allowed them to eat? Or is he just trying to show us on the outside what God does every day? Come on, church, think about this. If God knows the thoughts of my mind even before they come out of my mouth, and if God knows what I need even before I start praying, then don't I have a God who is a provider God? That he is constantly taking care of his children. He is constantly aware of what our needs are. He so intimately knows us that he knows what we need physically, spiritually, psychologically, emotionally. He knows. And because he loves us, he moves heaven and earth to make sure that our needs are met, that we're taken care of. It would be wrong of us just to think that this was just an isolated thing, but I think what Jesus is revealing to us is how God operates every single day. Multiplying and providing what's needed at the right time for those who are in need. And so Jesus takes the bread and takes the fish. The disciples place it into Jesus' hands, which I think is just critical. Are we every day placing things into his hands and asking for him to cause them to multiply, to cause them to do the work, and provide for our needs? And as always, Jesus doesn't just give enough. He doesn't just feed the 4,000 men and their wives and children, but he provides so much that there's leftovers. I hope we understand that it doesn't matter what aspect of our lives. Jesus, God, our Heavenly Father, our God does not want to just give us enough to get by. He wants us to have more than enough, plenty. He is the provider of our daily bread. Think of the manna in the wilderness falling every day, quail falling every day. Always more than enough, because if they took more than what they needed for one day, they'd get sick, right? Or the stuff would rot. But on the day before the Sabbath, they could gather twice as much and it wouldn't rot. God is constantly a provider God. What do you need in provision? What do you need from God? And where are you in placing that in His hands and allowing Him to do the multiplication, allowing Him to meet the need? Just some things to think about. He has provided us so much, and I think sometimes we think we've done the providing. But as soon as we do that, Satan whispers in our ears, "You're not enough. What if it runs out?" Let's believe in a Heavenly Father who loves us so much that He continuously knows our needs, works to fulfill our needs to our good and to His glory. There's a word for us to think about as we get through this week. All right, that's what I have for you. Let's see who else jumped on board here. Steve Giroux, good morning. Diane Giroux, good morning. And Natalie Ann, morning. Hope you had a great weekend. Love you, Natalie. Natalie, love you too. Everyone, I hope that this devotion was a blessing to you. Have a great day. Make it a firmly rooted day, and may someone see Jesus in us today. Peace.